This is a quick thought, and fair warning, it's a real flyer. A low chance bit of speculation, but something I think that's interesting to at least consider based on the shape of this month so far, in light of a few unusual scheduling choices from Nintendo. So we know that Nintendo dropped Pokemon Champions in early April, and Tomodachi Life is scheduled for the 16th of April. The next game after that is the 21st of May, which is 5 weeks after. Is there a reason for them to drop essentially three games if you include the Wonder Plus game in the space of 3 or so weeks at the end of March and beginning of April? Granted, the movie is a big hype bubble and they can hope to ride this for sales. Also, Tomodachi Life could be a great one for the Golden Week holiday in Japan, and releasing it with a couple of weeks to go probably ensures that it has plenty of time to build up its appeal. Another possibility is that they wanted the probably quite small print run of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Nintendo Switch 2 editions, physical edition to go to stores in the same batches as Tomodachi Life, although whether this would actually have made any meaningful savings to them is unclear. Another reason still might be that they expect Tomodachi Life to do very well, and usually with these more successful games, they give them a good deal of grace time afterwards. Over a month in the case of titles like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Switch Sports, probably on the assumption that these will continue driving sales for a good while, and so they want to keep the rest of the shelves clear of any other kind of promotions. Like I say, none of what I'm about to say is high probability stuff. Still, it is very unusual for Nintendo to put games into early April, at least over recent years. In 2019, they had Labo VR on the 12th of April and Box Boy plus Box Girl at the end of the month. There was no May game, but since Fire Emblem Three Houses was previously mooted for spring, it seems probable that the gap was due to Fire Emblem being moved back to July. In 2023, another film year, it should be said, they did have Advance Wars 1 plus 2 Reboot Camp on the 21st of April, but this gave them a clear run up to Tears of the Kingdom 3 weeks after. Generally speaking, even in busy periods, Nintendo tries to keep a gap between significant releases of 3 to 6 weeks. The average on Switch was a shade over 3 weeks. One other oddity I will call out: the May financial results are due on a Friday. This is extremely rare but not unheard of. Actually, they had a Friday results drop just last August, and since there are only 2 days they could actually announce during that week, which is their usual week to announce their May results, it was probably just a 1 in 2 chance, and if they're being kind to their staff and letting them have a day to prepare back in the office after the holidays, Friday becomes the only real option. Nevertheless, Nintendo frequently does release games in the long Golden Week holiday, which starts at the end of April. So, here's my thought. Is it possible that they have plans to shadow drop a title, or at least to reveal and release a game in very quick succession between the 16th of April and the 21st of May, and probably in the slot that would have been the 30th of April, end of the month prior to Golden Week slot that they've used previously? Now, on the one hand, 5 week gaps are pretty standard for Nintendo anyway, but on the other hand, you would think Pokemon Champions on the 8th of April, Tomodachi Life on the 30th of April, right at the beginning of Golden Week, and Yoshi on the 21st of May would be more consistent spacing and would have fitted their standard approach over recent years. Now, if they do some kind of shadow drop, do exert some caution about expectations. I am not necessarily saying that they are going to drop a new Star Fox or Advance Wars or something cool, though that would be, although we can't rule that out entirely. Who would have thought that this kind of left field approach would be used for the debut of as wished for a title as Metroid Prime Remastered, and yet it was shadow dropped in a February 2023 Direct. There are plenty of more possibilities, such as something new in the vein of Hello Mario focused on younger players, or of course some kind of app. If they did, as rumours have suggested recently, drop Star Fox News, then in theory they could do a Pikmin 1 plus 2 type deal and sell the GameCube Star Fox titles as new into the bargain, but this seems improbable as well. It's also, I guess, theoretically the case that they could try to release a new Star Fox game with a very short turnaround time to take advantage of the hype of the film. They've managed to release games only 16 days after announcing them in the case of the physical Metroid Prime remastered game and with the 3D Mario All-Stars game from 2020, but I think that's still a pretty ambitious timeframe for them, and they'll probably want to have something a little bit more spacious in order to really build up to a new Star Fox. Still, if they want to go for shock value and if they want to take advantage of all of those people who have checked into Nintendo today during the film and now are hopefully for them getting into the habit of doing so, perhaps they'll want some kind of big major announcement on Nintendo today that will send shockwaves and make it even more addictive for people to continue checking in. Yet another option would be the playtest game, which has had more than 18 months since the first test back in October of 2024 and 9 months since the last one, which was the end of July last year. If these windows weren't happenstance but mapped onto some kind of development milestones, it's possible that they could either announce another test or release the game full on, since this would be about 9 months since the last test, which was 9 months since the last. Of course, they could also have a full Nintendo Direct, during which all kinds of things could be dropped, including demos of future titles or smaller titles, Box Boy, Dr. Mario, Pushmo, or any other kind of smaller event title. HAL may also want to follow up their strong Switch 2 debut for Kirby, especially given the Puffball hasn't had an original Switch 1 game since Dream Buffet, and something small in the manner of that title, or perhaps Kirby Fighters, could be a possibility. Now, while the general consensus seems to be increasing that Nintendo is going to wait until June for their next Nintendo Direct showcase, I do think they will be conscious about the lack of much firm information on their coming lineup ahead of the investor presentation at the start of May. So something in early May, even if it's a pre-announcement of a Direct in the manner they've done previously, might be worth their while considering. Of course, while Nintendo generally don't make too much space in their schedule for third parties or indies, a significant drop for either of these might be something they would consider worth reserving a slot for if they have late April or early May indie worlds or partner showcases planned. All things considered, I think the chances that there's a game for April or May that has yet to be announced are at absolute maximum 30%. However, if there were one, it would likely be a shadow drop or very close to one, because the usual roughly 30 days to get a game to market couldn't take place before Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, and my guess is that it would be likely timed for the 30th of April to pay into the Golden Week holiday. At any rate, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Do check out the Patreon for more early, ad-free and exclusive content, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time for another Nintendo Forecast.